Hello and welcome back to the High Growth Equation, where we explore the formula for channel partner success. Today, we're going to look into something that's been in the news a lot recently. We're going to look at the whole issue of the AI energy war. And joining me to unpick this, I'm delighted to say we've got Phillip Privett, who's the Senior Vice President of Vendor Solutions for TD SYNNEX here in North America. Phillip, lovely to have you here.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. It's nice to be here.
That's great. Now, Phillip, you've got a lot of expertise in this area, so let's dive straight in. We're seeing a clear shift where power and cooling and water availability, for that matter, in addition to compute, have become a limiting factor for AI growth. So how do you see these factors and their requirements reshaping the market over the next few years?
We've been watching over power and cooling trends since the launch of Destination AI, and we realized that energy is really the new currency of the modern data center. Specifically, we're looking at long lead times for GPUs, memory, SSIDs, everything that's going on right now in terms of a global component shortage, as well as power and cooling based on the current rate of build out.
So Phillip, thanks for that answer. What I'd like to look at next is, what is the AI energy war for people that are watching this and wanting to understand a bit more about it?
Sure. What we refer to as an energy wall really is power consumption is projected to jump, specific to the US, from 4% in 2023 to 12% by the end of the decade. That means we're kind of on a collision course with the reality here in terms of availability. As a part of that, we kind of struggle with two main points. Number one is the grid instability and availability, as well as facility constraints. Many data centers were not built to handle the power of some of these new workloads. We can get in front of this curve by engaging with our resellers to have modernization discussions earlier than they may be normally having them, because you're going to need to modernize sooner in order to provide the availability and meet the lead times, as well as have a conversation that extends from IT and the SLAs required all the way to the power and its availability. Those are critical, and that's a wall we're going to hit. Could be as soon as 2028, by the way, where experts are beginning to think that the grid availability may match the grid demand just based on the power centers, the power required by data centers that are currently being built here in the States.
Yeah, no, wow. So on that note then, Phillip, how do you recommend partners start a conversation with their customers around power, cooling, and electricity? And at what point do you think in the sales cycle does this need to be addressed?
Oh, it should be addressed, I think, initially. When you begin the conversation about modernization, you should be talking about the power required to modernize that technology as well. The scariest part of this right now for most reps may be starting those conversations. Maybe they're very comfortable in implementing a solution, but they're not comfortable having a conversation about the power required. Those are generally two different people within an end user, the two different organizations entirely, sometime between the CIO maybe and the COO. The critical point is at the beginning, look at your SLAs and then start an initial energy assessment to help understand exactly where you are today in terms of what power you have and what is requiring that power. As an example, there's a significant number of blades that are still out in the market today from 2014. You could replace those blades today with newer, more modernized, more energy efficient blades and get better SLAs out of your, out of those servers. And at the same time, lower your overall consumption of power. So it's really about understanding where you are. The good news is on our line card, we have both power companies, many of our OEMs today provide energy assessments, both agented and agentless, in case a customer doesn't want any traffic on their network, as well as several of our infrastructure OEMs offer power assessments as well. So the real key is to do that first and then start the conversation.
Yeah, no, they're great. And as you alluded to, we're seeing IT energy and OpEx concerns elevate conversations from perhaps the CIOs to maybe the CFOs and even the COOs. So how's this changing who truly owns the infrastructure decisions inside organizations? And what does it mean for go-to-market strategies?
We're capturing a dizzying amount of white papers and news articles here in the States about the impacts of AI and in some cases, regulation around where you can and can't build some of these data centers. That also should affect the planning. We have some states here that are considering banning all new data center development. That's going to be an impact if you're a CIO or a CFO looking to expand your business. Okay, where do I go where I can find a facility and the power required to run my data center if I cannot build a new one, right? Maybe I can expand what I've got, but maybe I can't build a new one in that state from a large data center standpoint. Users simply need to know where they stand in regard to the power and the SLAs they want to provide in order to have that plan, that initial plan, which is why this conversation is so important to have early.
From everything you said, it sounds like that's going to be critical. So what capabilities does TD SYNNEX have to support reseller partners in this conversation?
We have a hybrid IT energy initiative that we launched here. We felt that we should arm our resellers with the necessary data to have a conversation with their customer. So we built that database of news articles and white papers. We have university studies, almost by state, in some cases by city, that allow the customer to go away and help start a conversation with their customer about there's going to be a pending issue here. You need to get ahead of it. We have complemented that with a list of questions, some with the very most basic questions about what are your plans for power, up to how do you believe power needs to be brought into the conversation as it relates to your AI expansion or additional GPUs coming into the facility, things like that. So very technical questions are asked as well, because most people first, that you've got to get past the issue of how do I start this conversation. We also have a listing of power specific suppliers to help address these issues. And then we also have built a list of all the various agented and agentless power assessments that we can provide to start those conversations. We want to continue to drive the conversation forward in order to modernize sooner and actually do it in such a way that it is not a negative, it's a positive, right? We have a pending issue. If you don't feel it today, you will likely feel it tomorrow. And the idea is to get them to have the conversation sooner and pull deals for modernization ahead of some of these challenges, right? Especially now with some of the longer lead times. If I may, there's one really positive aspect of this, and that is a modernization assessment in terms of power could literally sell anything into a data center. It could be anything from new racks and cooling. It could be server replacement. It could be storage. It could actually be components of the network. But until you do an assessment and understand what your opportunities are to improve on your power consumption, and you look at and you bounce that against the availability of the power coming in your facility, it gives the opportunity to modernize virtually anything. We built a nice cross-supplier group to help work on this, and it's the hybrid IT energy at tdsynnex.com. And that goes under the group. So we then all have the ability to jump in there, look at our customers and work with them in terms of, how to have the next conversation.
Are you seeing the same things happen outside of North America? And for partners that are watching this that are perhaps not North American based, is there anything we can do to support them as well?
Yes, I think the questions still are, I think they translate very well, right? These questions are not specific to the US. They're really specific to, what are your plans for sustainability, carbon footprint, and energy supply based on the constraint in your region? Most all the same assessment should be available in these varying countries. Obviously, we may not have a supplier in a certain country versus another, but I'm sure we have somebody there willing to help.
Thank you very much for all your insights today and sharing your knowledge with us. Really, really useful. Great topic. Some great things we've uncovered there. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
It's great to have you here. So if you're watching this, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The High Growth Equation. Until next time, thank you very much. Bye-bye.